everyone, and welcome to my next video in my Mario Fest series. This is Super Mario 64 and this is just an amazing game. It was such a quantum leap forward for the Mario series. This was the first time that Mario went 3D, and when I bought the Nintendo 64 originally, it was pretty much I kind of bought it when it came out. I had a PlayStation, I got the Nintendo 64, and I got this with it, but I didn't have the N64 for a very long period of time. For sort of one reason or another, I bought it, then I needed to get some money together, and I ended up having to sell it. So I never really got a chance to get into the games that I had for it. I did have quite a number of games, and subsequently I have gone back and repurchased an N64 and bought those games back just so I can experience them properly. And this was one of those games that I never really got round to playing properly. I did play it, I played it a little bit, but I didn't get into it. And this was at a time where I was coming across Mario for the first time, and obviously there was a great hullabaloo when this was released. You know, oh look, Mario's in 3D, it's fantastic and all of this. And I must confess, I was like, yeah, it's good, but I couldn't really see what the fuss was about. I was perhaps a little bit more intolerant and a bit more cynical to games at that point because, you know, as I say, I already owned a PlayStation, you know, and I was playing this sort of Resident Evils and the Dooms and all of these type of games, and this sort of came along and I was like, wow, you know, I can clearly see it's a very good game, but I didn't have the wow factor with it, and I guess it's because of the fact that I hadn't really played many of the Mario, if any of the previous Mario games. So, you know, to me it was like, yeah, whatever, it's a 3D platform game. I've already come across this on the PlayStation, and you know, yeah, okay, it's very pretty, but you know, so what? And it was totally like the sort of wrong attitude to have. And like I say, I ended up selling the N64 before I really gained an appreciation for just how fantastic this game really is. And you know, I got other games with the N64 at the time, like Turok and ISS 64, and they were more interesting to me. I spent more time playing them than I did playing this. So yeah, and I say I never really got into it, and it was only when I got my DS many years later and they re-released this on the DS that I actually got to spend some time playing on it. Now, the DS version wasn't the best by any stretch of the imagination, and I always intended to go back to it. I always intended to go back and get an N64 and play this properly with the proper N64 controller and what have you, how it was originally intended. And having gone back and playing on it and spending a lot of time on it, I really have got to appreciate just how fantastic this game really is. It's quite often thought of as to be one of the best games out there that's ever been made, and it's not difficult to see why people would think that. You kind of take this type of stuff for granted these days because, you know, 3D platform games are, you know, you throw a rock and you'll hit half a dozen of them, just by the nature of the fact of the power of the consoles. But this was the first time that Mario had gone into 3D on the N64, And it was kind of a bold move by Nintendo, because to take something that had always been historically a 2D platformer and take it into a 3D environment is always a risk. As I said in my Super Mario World video, the great problem that Sonic the Hedgehog had was that once they took Sonic out of that 2D environment that he really made his name in, the franchise really started to struggle in terms of the quality of the games. And simply because, I mean, Sonic was brilliant as a 2D platformer. It's how it was conceived, it was how it was originally designed, and I don't think there's any coincidence that amongst the best Sonic games, they've always been in the 2D. I mean, taking the Sonic Adventure ones to one side for a moment, they were, you know, the Sonic Adventure games on the Dreamcast sort of represented what could be done with the series. It did prove that Sonic could go in 3D, but there was so many other Sonic games that were in 3D that were absolutely awful. You know, that you never really felt like you had full control over Sonic like you do with Mario in this. I mean, this does play. This seems strange to say, and it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's a 3D platform game, but you still feel you have the same element of control over Mario as you did in the 2D games. Quite often with a lot of the Sonic games, you feel like you're there for the ride. I mean, once in the 3D environment, once he starts going full tilt, he seems to be stuck on a very narrow path, bouncing from one side to the other, and all you really end up doing is jumping. That never really happens with Super Mario 64. You always feel that you're in control. You know, you always feel that you got full control over the Mario character in the environment. And that, as I say, is something, you know, in spite of the footage here that you're seeing of me playing like an incompetent baboon, that was something that Nintendo managed to pull off, and that's what makes, for me, Mario 64 such a fantastic game. I nearly forgot what the hell I was talking about then. Because of the fact that they nailed it, they took a 2D platformer into a 3D environment and absolutely nailed it. And I think it's kind of interesting that, you know, Sega only managed to do it with 2 games. Nintendo have done it with all of their Mario games across their different formats that they've released them on. They've always made it successful. They've always made a successful transition, which, as I say, hasn't happened with Sonic. I mean, there's a wonderful variety in the environments and challenges as well with this. I mean, you would have been forgiven if the game had been a short game or dumbed down in some kind of way while they got used to the new technology. But that's not the case. I mean, there's nothing dumbed down about this whatsoever. It's so well put together, it's so well programmed, and in fact, I would go so far as to say that the only thing in this that perhaps annoys me a little bit is sometimes the camera can be not in the best place, but you can adjust it to suit your own style. The little guy in the corner there, you can see him with the camera, that represents the camera angle, style, whatever that you're currently locked into. So you can actually change it to suit how you want to view the game. And that was a real cool thing that they introduced as well, because, you know, especially in the early days, for some reason, third-person games on the likes of the PlayStation, and even a lot of N64 titles and Saturn titles, and even some of them today, believe it or not, they have a real problem in making the cameras work. You know, they go to some sort of stupid, obscure angle that makes it very difficult to see stuff. And it makes you wonder why they never followed what Nintendo did with this. I mean, it solves the problem and it no longer becomes a problem. So, yeah. Well, anyway, I've rambled on enough, I think. This is Super Mario 64 on the N64, and it's absolutely bloody fantastic. Thank you for watching.